Ha! Well, there it went. Okay. No idea. I did exactly all the same things.
You never know. Okay. Come on, girl. Come here. Come on. Yes. I
Okay. So now it's going, and I think we're actually live.
okay.
Technology is our friend,
Technology is
friends.
our friend. Good morning.
It did not do what it usually does today, but welcome. Welcome to the Dulcimoon Talk number 6. Here
Yes.
we are.
Here we are. I was thinking, yeah, these things have turned out to be so much fun.
They really have.
So I'm DJ Hamouris. This is
And I'm
Erin
Erin
Mae.
Mae. Yeah.
We are, I think, the right and left hand of Dulcimoon. Although we have more hands than that.
We do have more hands.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do have more hands, which
We are
is
very
cool.
fortunate to have many hands.
That's right.
Many
That's right.
hands make light work, right?
So we were just talking about how in California, evidently, I just saw a note from Thomasina Levy. Are you okay? It's really hot out there, isn't it? You should come to Connecticut and cool down. I'm like, the very idea that going to Connecticut would make me cool down is like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
For those of you who are in other areas of the country, the San Francisco Bay Area doesn't usually get really hot, so we don't have air conditioners. So all the windows have been open to my house for days, and it's still 95 at night when I go to bed. So, but it's cooled down. It was 103 the other day, and it went down to 82 yesterday.
Oh, that's way better.
Way better, way better. Go in the backyard, everything's fine.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
Well, I was reading too that even people who had some sort of air conditioning unit, the grid is struggling to keep up with that. And
yeah.
so, yeah,
Now here,
you can't necessarily run it even if you do have it.
but here's a cool thing. We literally got one of these beep, beep, beep alarms on our phones, right? And I thought, okay, that keeps going, even though usually Amber Alerts, they stop after a while, which is a way about kidnapping or senior at risk. And it was asking everyone to turn everything off between 4 and 9 o'clock. And you know what? We did. And the power use went straight down. So
Yay.
Californians responded, and that feels really good. That feels really
Yay.
good.
Good.
No Texas grid problems here, please.
That's right.
I feel for those people in Texas. They
Yeah.
need the heat and they need the cooling when they got it. It's just bad.
Yeah.
So much about the weather. So you're all about Winfield right now, right?
I'm all about Winfield right now. Land rush has actually just happened. My parents and my sister are probably just arriving right about now. You know, it's in the like minute by minute. Who's there and what am I missing because I'm not there yet? But I definitely wanted to be here this morning to hang out with you. I have a couple things going on yet today, so I'll get there later this evening.
It sounds like so much fun. I have a couple of students who come out there almost every year, all the way from California, because they love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the 50th year, and there's a lot of retelling stories and a lot of just talking about what it is that has made it magic and reading all of those things. It's like it is that it is magic.
Yeah.
It has been for me, for
Well,
sure.
the people make it so, don't it? Don't they?
Yeah, and I grew up as a musician there. Like that's where I met David Schnoffer. That's where I played on a big stage for the first time. That's where the National Mountain Dulcimer Contest is. It just really has been like the way I've grown up
Right. Right.
musically. So
Well, the
yeah,
big festivals are the way that these things happen, and it's how we're introduced to things outside of our normal lives, right? And
yeah.
we were saying you hadn't heard my dulcimer journey yet, and that's where it
Yes.
started for me. Was at a big festival, the
Oh,
California Renaissance Fair, they called it the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. And it was the mother of all Renaissance fairs in the United States, run by a group called the Living History Center. And I'm a Northern California gal, but I ended up going down to Southern California because in my 20s, because I really wanted to pursue music as a career. And I was mostly trained as a singer, and I wanted to see if I could get some like studio work, right? And I tried, and it was, shall we say, not successful on that level. LA is all about looks. And if you aren't 2 sizes smaller than you should be, you're not going to get even a backup studio musician job as a woman.
Wow.
It's one of those ways that women really are, misogyny is present all the time. So, and LA is just really, really focused on looks. It's all about what they call the industry, movies and TV.
And super competitive.
Super competitive. And in my mid-20s, I had not been trained how to be ambitious. And if I had been, I probably wouldn't have had any friends at home.
Well, that's what I've only been to California a few times, but my experience of Northern California, which was where I first experienced California, was in Northern California. And I was like, this feels like home. This feels like farm country. This feels Midwestern culture. It's small towns. It's very conservative overall. It's got a lot of the, like, really, everything you say has to be kind. Like, it has to be somehow sugar coated, kind of way of being. And then you get into sort of a cutthroat business situation, and man, that can be a clash.
Yeah, it can be a real clash. And the way I always thought about it was, Northern California hippies had beads. Southern California hippies had crystals on a gold chain. So that's the difference there.
Uh-huh.
But still, the Renaissance Fair started in the LA area. And excuse me, my cat needs me.
Yes.
Yes. Say hello, music.
it.
Hello. She says, I just want my lap. Anyway, I ended up moving down to Southern California to, as I said, to just try to get into the culture there. And I met some great people and did some great things. But ultimately what I did was I always felt like I ran away to the circus. I went to the Renaissance Fair to just experience it. And it was in a beautiful area, actually the area that was used a lot for TV. I think that the MASH TV show was filmed there, the old Paramount Ranch, and in Agoura Hills. And I really was influenced by Ruth Barrett and Cynthia Smith, who performed daily at the Renaissance Fair, along with a motley group of musicians, which was the beginning of my understanding that there was an enormous number of talented people involved with this thing. It was not just a hobby for them, it was their livelihood. And when I was talking about at the Walnut Festival, it's the people that make it, right?
Yep.
And it's how they are with each other. And it was very much a family sort of affair. I felt taken under the wing of a couple of experienced people. I learned a lot about the music and the culture of Great Britain, the folklore and all of that. And then I fell in love with Ruth Barrett and Cynthia Smith, playing duo dulcimers and singing in harmony. Just amazing, haunting music. And so I found myself a job with the Renaissance Fair, and I moved back up north.
Wow.
And I had not yet gotten a dulcimer, but because I was working with the fair, I traveled again back down south to the following spring for the next spring festival. So that there's a one in the fall in Northern California, and then in the spring in Southern California. And that still holds, by the way. And that was the year when I went, okay, I've got 6 weeks at this event. And I was traveling every week. I'm going to buy a dulcimer. And I haunted Capratoris booth every single day. I went there. I must have driven Michael Rugg. Was it Michael? I think it was Michael Rugg. And yeah, Howard didn't come out to the fair. And Neil Hillman every single day. Show me what you got. And I knew what I wanted was something that went with women's voices, because I was singing with a women's trio at the fair. That's how I had found my place, right? And by the end of the time I bought my instrument, I was a single woman working not very high level financially. And that dulcimer, hang on, is hanging on my wall.
Aww. First dulcimers.
This is DJ's first dulcimer.
Yep.
It's plywood. It's their most, popular model. And I think maybe I paid $99 for this, if that. It might have been more like $79 in 1979. Right. And I don't play her much these days because it's got a 29-inch VSL.
Yeah, that's before all the chord work was really popularized. So was the I see it has a 1.5 fret. Was that added later?
Oh yeah, we added that in this century.
Did it have a 6.5 at that time, or was
no? I had to have that. I had to have that added too.
Okay, that's what I would have expected.
Yeah, and I don't even remember how I did that, but I know that I did it pretty early on. I mean, so 70, that was 43 years ago, right? Something like that. That. And she's the one that I call her Starshine. I name my dulcimers.
All my dulcimers have names too. I think it's perfectly normal.
Good.
I think people who don't name their instruments are the weird ones.
But it was really interesting that I found the dulcimer, and I that first year I would literally just sit in my apartment and play so much on my off time. By then I was working in downtown San Francisco. I wasn't working for the fair anymore. And on the weekends, I would get kind of tired of my own four walls, and my cats did not appreciate it. So I remember going to the local park and literally sitting at the foot of a tree and just plunking away because I just wanted to be somewhere different. And that's my memory of first learning. I didn't know anything about string instruments, nothing at all. I had played piano, I had studied voice, a little bit of, music theory, stuff like that. I hadn't finished college at that point, and I decided not to go back because I just ran out of money. And those days sitting under that tree, just playing, time flew. It just flew. Yes. And I hadn't experienced anything like that with music before, because everything was like, before that, it was all aimed at a specific goal. And this was my goal, my choice, not what a teacher wanted me to do, not what a director wanted me to do. It was just what I wanted to do.
Did you have any dulcimer books, or were you just going off of what you knew about music?
Right about that same time, I met my husband. And we started our relationship that same year, that same month.
Wow.
I know.
Oh.
It was kind of an amazing month. And he also played dulcimer, but that wasn't what brought us together. A friend of his made his first dulcimer. She built hers, she built his, she built a few others.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, let me call her in. Lauren Washburn. We called her Lauren Lightbeam. She just recently passed away. And so they were dear friends for many years. Well, for all of this time.
Yeah.
And he had a book called Lapidus on Dulcimer.
Uh-huh.
And
I
he
have that
loaned it.
book.
He loaned it to me. And this was, like I say, 1979. This was before tablature was codified. And she
Yeah.
had her own system, and it was the only one I knew, the only thing that I saw, and I didn't find it difficult. And the difference between the Lapidus book and then the other ones that I came across after that is that she went through tunings, every chapter, different tuning, different tuning, different tuning,
Uh-huh.
different tuning. And so I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I learned several pieces, one of which I recorded, The Angel of Bells. And I performed several of them often because they just really called to me, and I loved her compositions and the way that she taught. So she has a chord, well, she had, I haven't looked at the new edition, but she had a chord encyclopedia at the back, and she put everything in the key of C.
Uh-huh.
But she had a like, you might want it in a different key. And she said, so if you want it in the key of blank, you need to do blank. So you had to figure it out. So early on, I figured out how to do chord transposition on the dulcimer.
And that's what, I mean, that's a lot of what you're teaching now with the baritone dulcimer, isn't it?
I'm teaching some of the stuff. Excuse me. The sun is on my screen and it's dusty. I'm teaching, chord shapes for the baritone, and also like an easy way to get chords is to do blues, right? Because so that's another one that I'm doing. As a matter of fact, that's the next class in the baritone exploration class. I asked them, what do you want next? I could do blues. I could do this. They all wanted the blues. So, because that's chordally focused. It's the chord progression is what it's all about. And then the groove of the strum, and then moving over to dominant sevenths, and all of that stuff. So it's a really easy way to learn about chord progressions.
It's a different discussion than the one we're having today, but sometime I think it would be worth talking about what it is in the current cultural moment that is making blues resonate with people really deeply right now. Because I'm seeing this emergence of people who are like, I just really want to learn the blues right now in a way that I never saw 5 years ago. I'm thinking, there's something happening.
Well, this is one of the things that I've been educating myself in the last decade is about the influence of New Orleans music on all popular music, pretty much, for the 20th and 21st centuries. And that's one of the reasons why we go back every other year or so. We're going to go back next month. I'm really excited about that. But anyway, so yeah, Dulcimer was, I just had that first Dulcimer in 1979. That was the only Dulcimer I had until 2012. And I wouldn't have had that one, but Buffalo is my husband, and he wanted a new one. And so he had ordered one from Folkcraft. I encouraged him to do that because the one his friend had made for him was needing some help. It was, it was crafts made by a craftsperson, not a luthier, and all of that. We eventually found out what was going on. The bracing was coming apart. And we did get that fixed, and suddenly her voice came back. It was so great. A good luthier is so worth it. Really, really, really find a good luthier. They'll help you for the rest of your playing life. So he had ordered this instrument, and then he came across a used McSpadden, and he still plays that McSpadden now. He just calls it the Mac, and because it's the only McSpadden we have. And he bought it used for like $200 from a kid who lived across the bay, and we thought it was worth traveling across the bay to check it out. And he played a little of it for the guy he was buying it from, and he says I could see in his eyes that he was like, oh, you can do that with it. Like,
that's a real musical instrument,
right? Maybe I think I'm gonna let go of it, but he sold it to him, and we're grateful. And so he had bought that, and I said, well, I've been wanting to get a new instrument. I want one with a shorter fretboard, and this was going to be, it's 28 inches as opposed to 29 and a quarter. And that may not seem like much, but play a 29 inch and a quarter fretboard for 30 years and then find out. It made all the difference. And in between, the other thing that made the difference in my playing was putting a strap on it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had no idea that was a thing. Now, let me tell you, I used to go out and perform with my singing group, choral group called Gaia's Voice. And we had a couple of numbers that we did with dulcimer. And, one dulcimer doesn't hold up acoustically to 12 voices very well, but it was really useful as a tonal reference, which is one of the reasons why I got it, because I wasn't confident in my being able to sing the same notes, to stay on pitch a cappella. So that's why I got it. And I wanted a tonal reference I could rely on. So I would go around. I had a stool that was exactly the right height for my body.
Yep.
And I would take that with me because otherwise it would slope down on my lap.
Yep.
And I
slide right off.
Slide right off. And I think I kept it. I would put a piece of kind of corrugated leather. It's like a piece of leather that they ran through a machine that made it look like corduroy. So it had a bite to the surface. I would lay that over my lap and put my dulcimer on top of that and sit in that stool that was just the right height for me, and it never slipped. But it was always a problem, right? It's like, move it back, move it back, move it back. So when I could put a strap on that original instrument, that upped my technique hugely. Which is why I always tell people it's a choice to make any physical change to your instrument. It's a personal choice. Like the friction pegs. I don't tell people they have to change them. I just say you need to learn how to use them in order to feel confident playing. And I'm not the teacher to tell you how to do that. So I've never worked with friction pegs.
Yeah, my niece Annabelle is 2, and someone in the community, it was not me. I just want to say this. It was not her aunt who was like, you need a dulcimer. Someone else gave her a dulcimer like right after she was born. And It's a Warren May dulcimer.
Mm.
It's really beautiful. It has a lovely voice and it has those old friction pegs. And so it only gets tuned when Erin comes over. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And so probably if she, when she's 7 or 8, if she really does want to learn to play it, we'll change the tuning pegs on it. But for now,
yeah.
as a thing that she only really gets out when Erin comes over,
Right.
it's okay.
Yeah. So anyway, things were changing in the dulcimer world, and I was trying to move along with it, but I didn't know much about the dulcimer world because other than seeing a few people, and then it turned out that the woman who was my best friend for the longest time during fair, she also played dulcimer.
Wow.
And the funny thing is we grew up just a few miles from each other in the same town and didn't know each other because she was on the other line of the high school designation point.
Huh.
So funny. These things are just, it's like kismet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she taught me a lot on the dulcimer. She taught me some great songs. And I started working out my own tunes on that. The tunes, not that I composed, but tunes that I found I wanted to play and sing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was pretty amazing. And so then I got the Folkcraft instrument, which is the shorter fretboard. And so 1.25 inches shorter, huge difference. I was also playing on a keyboard stand because I wanted to be able to sing and play. And that also increased my knowledge of what I wanted to do because I could move my whole body instead of having to get the instrument moved over.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Now I play with it on my lap again, but I figured out how to do these things. So that's fine. I've been skipping all over the place with this stuff, and I'm aware of the time.
I know. How does a half an hour fly by so fast when
I
there's
know.
stories to tell?
I mean, so what I want to say to people is when you are deciding on an instrument, these days I tell my students, it doesn't matter how big or small your hand is, get a 25-inch VSL. And I know there are a lot of people in the dulcimer world that say, but your instrument won't be as resonant. No, that's not true. The instrument is just as long. It's just the fretboard is shorter in
Yeah, and
some cases.
I feel like the modern building techniques are just different.
Yes.
And so some of the things that were true are not necessarily still true in the way that things are being built now. I mean, I remember people saying, well, you just got to check the intonation of the frets. Like that has to be the first thing that you check. Well, now that's all done by CNC machines and they will be accurate. So you can choose an instrument based solely on do you like the sound and look of it because it will have an accurate fretboard. And what a gift that is.
Right, right. So this is the first instrument that I got that has a 25-inch VSL. This is a New Harmony baritone. And yes, it says DJ because why not? And then the fleur-de-lis for New Orleans. And I call her Nola. And so I want you to see that the fretboard stops here. And look at all this resonance. And also it's floating here. Yeah. So this whole area from here to the tail can resonate. And that's what's different about the New Harmonies. Now, they're not the only ones who do this, but they've instituted that. And then down here, these are called AccuTuners. They're like fine tuners on a fiddle. And what it allows you to do is when intonation is something you're concerned about, which the better a player I am, the more I hear that, right? And I'm grateful for it in one way and frustrated in another.
I understand.
Yes, especially when students bring me their instruments and I'm like, okay, this will be a good first dulcimer. All right, it'll be fine. Uh-huh. So this way I can tune it, accurately. And when I can fine tune it by coming up to the second octave and retune using these little they push further up and back.
Yeah.
This is actually a 3D printing process.
Fascinating.
We keep these things. And
my David Beatty dulcimer has a similar, it has individual bridges that can slide forward and backward. And that was a thing that David Beatty tried on some dulcimers. It's not all of his that have that, but my particular one does. And most of the time, I'm really grateful for that. And every once in a while, like when I change strings, I'm like, oh, it's like that extra step to make sure everything really does sound right. But there have been times when I'm like a different tuning, for example, that I'm using, and then I can make an adjustment when the intonation isn't quite right.
Yeah,
sometimes I really care.
Yeah, I love it. There's so much more to all of this, but I just feel like I'm grateful for the process I've gone through from, seeing only one way of recording tablature to literally 20 years later encountering the people at Redwood Dulcimer Day. And they were like, oh, you can really play. You're actually a musician. We really want to play with you. And then they bring this tab and I'm like, this is Greek to me. I have no idea what I'm looking at. And then to the point of where I'm composing and arranging on tablet. I mean, it's huge. It's a big thing. All this stuff is it is part of the journey.
Sounds like the bulk of your journey is kind of self-led discovery. Does that feel accurate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I feel like a lot of dulcimer players have that. Like I was basically self-taught. And it makes me wonder how the dulcimer community is going to be different in 40 years from today, because so many more people have access to lessons and online classes but I don't know.
But you have to find a way in.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to find a way in. And for me, it was a folk music community.
Yeah.
From which I discovered a few more people who knew the same kind of music, who loved the same kind of music as I did. And some of them played dulcimer. It was like, dulcimer, I am your best friend now.
Yes. I sometimes say that mountain dulcimers are kind of like puppies or babies. If you're carrying around a mountain dulcimer in like a group setting where you have to meet new people, it is that moment of connection where people are like, either what is that? And you get to describe it to them. And now you're in the middle of a conversation without realizing that you broke the ice. Or they say, you play mountain dulcimer? And they get very excited and you're best friends.
Yes.
So
yes, it's really, really, really fun. And onward to this virtual life, right? Yeah. Which is more real life for people like you and I, because we're teaching all the time. We are meeting people all the time.
Yeah.
We're able to extend our connections and help those people who are completely isolated otherwise.
Right.
But the dulcimer is the thing for them. Yeah. It's what, cat? Stop bugging me. For me, I feel like the main thing I am is a cheerleader for self-expression.
I love that language.
Because self-expression is what makes us human. It's what brings that to the fore. And it's something that each of us have the capability of possessing and expressing. And not expressing it, I think, is what makes for grumpy politicians. who get out of touch with things.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree.
yeah.
I don't know that music could save the world, but I believe that it might be possible that it could.
Yeah. And I tell my students, I say, I haven't met any grumpy dulcimer players except one. And it turns out she's grumpy no matter what instrument she's playing.
Aww.
And I feel for her. She has been my student. And I'm like, honey, can I help you?
Right. Right. Yes.
Yes. Anyway, sorry. I think that dulcimer players, generally speaking, are pretty happy people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that the dulcimer is actually one of the tools that makes that happen, because it is that I have to get away sitting under a tree finding sounds in this instrument,
Right.
kind of place that you can get to, whether you actually are taking your dulcimer outside or whether you're sitting in a place in your house or what, like wherever you are, it can create that moment of space.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
Yeah, it is. So
okay, well, I know we have to sign off, but let's talk just for like 2 seconds about this weekend. Because on
okay.
Sunday, we have a special event. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. Well, we're doing a Dulcimoon Zoomathon concert and conversation. And you are invited. Everyone is invited. We're going to have music from Erin Mae and myself and Judy House, who is like the third hand for us, and Karen Mueller and Tina Bergman. And then we're going to do a little jam. And this is twofold. We're still trying to get Dulcimoon on the map, right? Visibility, you can't know that it's a good thing if you don't know it's there. Yeah. Just like we were talking about, finding the people who want it. And so this is about who we are, and you get some time to ask some questions and get some answers from each performer, each of us. And we are trying to finish up our fundraiser, which ends on September 15th. And we've raised $1,600 so far since June, which is fantastic. And so we're gonna have a few giveaways for people who donate during that event. But the donation is going on at dulcimoon.com, spelled just the way it sounds. And yeah, Erin Mae, I'm excited that you're going to be opening the show and closing it, helping us with the jam at the end.
Yeah. I'm excited too. Well, you called me a couple years ago and said, this is an idea I have, and we've been dreaming about it for a while, and the community that is building, the stories that are coming out as we focus on listening to each other's stories and reflecting on the women in our lives who have inspired us, and is really been amazing and beautiful and powerful. So I'm really excited to see what happens when we all get together in a little Zoom room for a while on Sunday too. Yeah. And I believe in the fundraiser piece of it too, because you have very aptly talked about how creative work takes money somewhere to make it all happen. And so any donations toward that just helps us continue to build the community and have the conversations and find those places where the spotlight hasn't been shown before, and keep bringing to light some of the people who have been in the shadows. So
that's right. So, and everybody's welcome, folks. We when we say we're shining a light on the women in the dulcimer community and that it's women teachers and women led, that's it. Nobody else is excluded from enjoying these teachers, these performers, this energy that we're creating together that is unique in the dulcimer community. And the event has been designed to be virtual to begin with the experience we've had through the Berkeley Dulcimer Gathering, which was the first one to go online in May of 2020. So we're just continuing that and adding this women's touch. Okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Sunday. We're not going to record it, folks. People have been asking me, is it going to be recorded? We're not recording it because we want you to feel comfortable to be live and ask your questions. Right. So we want you to feel comfortable doing that and to know that you're not going to be recorded and, it's live or nothing on Sunday. Yep. Okay.
And
Thanks
we'll have
for bringing
another talk in a couple of weeks. So
that's right. We're going to flip it here. I'm going to ask Erin Mae about her dulcimer journey. Yeah.
I'll look forward to it. All right. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks for your time this morning.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.